In Bristol, Customs Officer Joe has intercepted 2 passengers returning from Spain with 8,000 cigarettes. Spain is within the EU, so Joe just needs to work out their consumption rates and make sure they're not intending to sell the goods illegally. Easier said than done.
Right, and these are your cigarettes, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many do you smoke? Both.
Oh, I smoked a few, not too much. She smokes a lot more than me.
So how much do you smoke?
500 a week.
Sorry?
500 a week.
500 a week.
I smoked quite a few, but between
How much is that a day then?
I smoke like 50 or 60 a day.
50 or 60 a day. How many do you smoke?
Smoke like 30.
like a trooper. She smoked.
Have you been stopped by before?
No, I haven't.
No?
Yeah, we haven't been stopped.
Who is he anyhow? What is he? What is he? A pilot or something?
Yeah, we didn't have anything.
No?
No.
Okay. All right,
So what are you, a pilot?
a pilot?
Well, you've got things
No,
on.
I'm a customs officer.
Oh,
All right, just bear with
I
me.
didn't know that.
Joe now needs to work out if he believes their story.
She's got open packets on him. Can't really get a lot of sense out of him. But she reckons she smokes 50, 60, and she possibly could. She's already had one. She's going again on Sunday, but I'm tempted to, with the way everything's going, just to write down what he got and see what she brings in on Sunday.
Yeah, it's fair enough, yeah.
Joe decides to let them go.
You want to put them in your bag?
Put me in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sensing it's his lucky day, the passenger decides to try it on.
Cotton bottle of spirit she could sell a bit cheap. Cotton.
No, sorry. We
No?
don't like to do that. I'm afraid.
Hey?
Filming, you know, we can't do that. I'm afraid.
Hey, can't you let us... Hey, a couple of bottles of spirits is for, you know, for Christmas. Oh, they're getting the spirit of things.
Okay.
The lady will be searched again when she returns on Sunday.
If she brings anything through next time she travels, then she won't be. She'll be losing that basically. But I really doubt she will. There it is. There. And at the end of it, I think they're quite happy. He was quite happy, quite a character. He even offered for me to go round his house for a cup of tea one day, which is quite nice.
In Dover, customs officers face a massive challenge sniffing out drug dealers from the thousands of trucks streaming across the channel 24 hours a day.
At the end of the day, we are here first and foremost to stop drugs coming into the country. That's our primary role. If we get a smell of anything, we'll track it down until we either find it or we're happy that there's nothing there.
Usually the intelligence hub picks out target vehicles based on a variety of profiles.
Right.
But today, Mark is literally following his nose.
Just caught it again as well.
He's picked up a suspicious scent, and the Dutch truck must now be thoroughly searched.
And the other side, when I was doing the outsides, I caught a whiff of what I thought was perhaps a herbal substance. I don't want to say too much, the driver's right behind you. Some kind of a possibly controlled drug. Yeah. I think it's strong enough to have a look in the vehicle. And 3 of us have caught a whiff of it. Offload bay around there. And we want to take part of your load off and have a look in the lorry, okay? Yeah, over there, yeah.
Mark then spots something else that adds to his suspicions.
I just noticed that the tyres and some parts of it underneath are splattered with mud. Begs the question, has he been off-road somewhere? Has he been diverted for a purpose? The pallet he's getting off now is the one that was nearest to the smell, if you like, at the front left-hand corner. I can't smell anything now, funnily enough, but we'll have a look.
The driver can claim compensation for any damage, but Mark thinks this truck needs this final test. Perhaps the smell of cannabis was coming from another vehicle, and Mark decides it's time to let this driver go.
Yeah.
Sprawdzono mi towar, naczepę, przewiercono, prześwietlono, sprawdzono całe auto. I myślę, że wszystko jest ok, że jest super, jest dobrze.
And as one job finishes, another ferry full of potential smugglers hits the docks.
Another target vehicle coming in on the 1300 arrival from Dunkirk. It's all go sometimes. I did say Thursday was a busy day.
Officers in Gatwick are also investigating a possible Class A drug smuggler acting suspiciously at immigration control.
As soon as she was starting to be questioned, she said she wants to go to the loo, so she might have something concealed inside her or on her body she wants to get rid of. Morning. So you've come in from Nigeria? You live in Nigeria?
No, I live here.
You live here? Whereabouts do you live here?
Waltham Abbey.
Waltham Abbey? Okay, what do you do here?
Care assistant.
Okay, so how long have you been in Nigeria for this trip?
2 weeks.
Is that a holiday or business?
Holiday.
Okay, seeing family, friends?
Yeah, my family.
Okay. This is all your baggage?
Yes.
And you packed it all yourself?
Yes, please.
Okay, you come into the Green Channel, nothing to declare. Do you understand what you're allowed to bring into the
And my clothes and my food stuff. Yes.
Okay. You realise there are other restrictions on coming into the country, things like drugs and firearms. Has anyone asked you to bring anything here? Has anyone forced you to bring anything here? Okay, let's have a quick look, shall we? Thank you.
Andy searches the bags. The passenger's still acting nervous, so he also swabs the bags for drugs. The bag tests positive for heroin, so this search will have to go further.
The body language is quite good. I've had a hit of for heroin on the iron scan. I just want a quick rub down, make sure she's not got anything. Okay, just before you go, I'd just like for a lady officer to make sure you have nothing on you. Okay, you have any problem with that? No, good, thank you.
Hundreds of passengers a year are caught smuggling drugs through Gatwick. The body search will find out if this passenger is one of them. Back in Dover, the next target has been pulled by the specialist rummage team. It's an awkward load, exactly the sort of cover used by smugglers to conceal drugs and tobacco.
It's just such a loose description, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's a children's playground, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, it's been quite easy.
Yeah, the bags of balls, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. It might take a while. It's all going to be handballed off, basically. I mean, I don't know whether they get a forklift in there and get some of the stuff, but... I mean, yeah, you see things like this now and again, but it's not the norm. I mean, I'm just guessing it's some sort of children's playground that's been out in Spain for the season and is being brought back. It is a good cover load, isn't it? I mean, it's very difficult to get over the top of and to see in amongst.
After hours of offloading, the team finds some suspiciously heavy wooden boxes.
Yeah. No. They've made it look like the spongy steps, haven't they?
It's extremely suspicious, so the team decide to drill the boxes.
And I mean, you saw the load, how difficult it was to get in. They've managed to get themselves in there, identified these packages. They drilled a hole, and inside there's some green plastic. I think it was in that one. It's in that one. It's in that one. And it's in that one.
Stuart thinks the plastic packaging could indicate drugs.
I would think that there'll be a large quantity of cannabis in there, maybe up to a ton.
The driver is arrested while they work out what they found.
But it's a slow, methodical process now. The guy's arrested, there's no rush.
After another 2 hours of careful unpacking, the moment of truth has arrived.
It's just about to take the lid off. I think in the porn industry, this is the money shot, isn't it?
It's a massive haul of what looks like cannabis.
Can't smell anything. I'm guessing it's cannabis resin in there. Still can't get anything off it.
I smell the plastic.
All the boxes are full of bales of cannabis, which have apparently come from a special garden.
The maker's manufacturer mark. It's just their. It's come from that particular cannabis farm in Morocco, or wherever it is it's come from, and that they put their own stamp on it, and that's how it gets shipped out.
The officers now want to know just how much they've seized from the smugglers. It's the biggest haul of cannabis at Dover for years.
Sorry,
928 kilos. About.
And the specialist rummage team are delighted.
928 kilos is nearly a ton, so that's excellent. We've had a bit of a lean period actually, our team. We've gone 3 months maybe without anything. We've had a few little cigarette seizures might have been on the way, but this is what we call a proper job, really.
Still to come, officers get to the bottom of the suspected smuggler in Gatwick.
If somebody's got a package shoved up the backside, then if you bend them over, you can either see the package or it'll come out.
Coming up, officers get to the bottom of the suspected smuggler in Gatwick.
And if I can get you to hold on to the side of the bench. Okay, and if you can pop your butter cheeks a little bit with your hands.
In Gatwick, the female officers have arrived to search the woman whose bags tested positive for heroin.
We do a rub-down search for us, just make sure she's got nothing on her.
Customs sees over 400 kilos of heroin each year, and officers in Gatwick regularly catch smugglers willing to go to great lengths to hide their packages.
If you're going to do it, you might as well be thorough. And the whole bending over squatting thing, if somebody's got a package shoved up the backside, then if you bend them over and squat, then unfortunately you can either see the package or it'll come out generally.
Okay, and what you'll need to do is squat down for me so I can check that you haven't got anything inserted in any of your orifices, okay? So you'll need to squat down for me, turn around, bend over and pop your butt cheeks for me as well. But as I said, you won't be touched at any time, so there's no need to worry about that. And if I can get you to hold on to the side of the bench, okay, and if you can pop your butt cheeks a little bit with your hands. Pop your butt cheeks.
That's it, don't pull forward, that's it.
That's fine, okay, and if you can just turn around for me and squat down for me as well. So I can... Right, okay, that's fine.
The search finds nothing, but the passenger is surprisingly understanding of her treatment.
It's good because it makes you to be scared to do such things. I came to this country just to make a living for me and my children and my family. That's it. I did my work. I can work 24/7. I don't want just quick money or anything. I believe in my handiwork, what I can do with my hands to get money. I know that.
Today is the start of a 2-week tour of duty for the customs officers aboard Customs Cutter Searcher.
Which may cause a problem.
The intelligence hub has identified a ship heading to the Cornish port of Foy from Turkey, the gateway to Europe for heroin from the opium poppy countries of Asia.
She's Turkish with 15 Turkish crew on board. Obviously with a Turkish ship, we've got the possibility of heroin being on board the ship. There's also a good chance there'll be some cigarette smuggling from Romania because L&Ms are extremely cheap.
The race is now on to beat the ship into Foy, so the officers track the vessel into port.
As we may not be expecting us, I doubt very much they'll be expecting us.
Catching smugglers off guard is vital to prevent any drugs or tobacco being thrown overboard before it can be seized.
It's okay. Okay if we come in, Captain?
Have you a crew declaration?
Yes.
Stores declaration and also a ship's declaration, Captain?
The captain appears to run a tight ship, but sometimes the opportunity for the crew to make extra money on the side can't be resisted.
My crew will be checking the vessel now, and if there's any problems at all, I'll come and have a word with you. I'm not expecting any, so that's okay. You've had no problems with drugs or anything with the crew?
No. I'm sure that's...
Yeah, you're sure that's okay, yeah? Okay, that's fine. Right, thank you, Captain. I mean, it's from Turkey, so I mean, our suspicions are aroused for heroin really more than anything else. Also, as we mentioned before, it's cigarettes are cheap in Turkey, and it's also come via Romania and Spain, which are also quite cheap for buying cigarettes. So there is a chance that the crew might be tempted to smuggle large quantities of cigarettes. But what we're really after here is heroin.
Investigation officers in Dover also work around the clock to stop organised criminal gangs bringing drugs into Britain.
Back in July of 2004, a vehicle was stopped at the Eastern Docks at Dover, driven by a gentleman by the name of David Williams. When his lorry was stopped and searched, a couple of brown-taped packages were found in the cab of his lorry.
The packages were full of drugs.
As a result of that, David Williams was arrested. and that was how it all began.
Williams was questioned about the drugs, while his truck, belonging to Peter Jones Haulage, was impounded and searched, much to the annoyance of its owner.
Well, Mr. Jones would have been quite enthusiastic to get his trailer back anyway, because he had a business to run, apparently. There had been 1 or 2 calls where he would make inquiries as to when he could have his trailer back. And, well, he was overly enthusiastic, in my opinion.
Alerted by his urgency to recover the truck, investigators began to dig into Peter Jones's background.
Peter Jones had been convicted twice before, in 1997 as part of a conspiracy to import drugs within adapted exhausts in units, articulated units. At that point, I sort of decided that perhaps we ought to look a bit deeper into the either the unit or the trailer.
Now knowing Peter Jones's pedigree, the search wouldn't miss the clues a second time.
In the side locker of the trailer, there was a box of grey bungs, and they were sort of consistent with the bungs that were holding the mudguards over the wheels on the trailer.
They found a strange tool which unlocked a secret compartment full of Class A drugs.
Once they'd finished the search, they removed a large number, a further large number of packages, and a significant quantity of cocaine and heroin amongst those packages.
The elaborately engineered concealment fitted perfectly with Jones's previous attempts, and it was obvious why he'd been so keen to get his truck back. A team of specialist officers went to Liverpool to arrest Jones and gather financial evidence, which would prove his lavish lifestyle could only be funded by drug dealing.
So it was put to Mr. Jones during the interview that he seemed to have a far better standard of living than the officer who interviewed him, who coincidentally was on the same money that was declared by Jones. And Jones quite simply said, well, he didn't drink and he didn't smoke, and by making these savings he could afford the extra 3 or 4 cars a year, the big house, the luxury holidays.
When interviewed, Jones denied any knowledge of the attempted importation.
His response to the drugs being found were that he had no idea they were in his trailer. His response to the fact that the trailer had been adapted suggested to him that, in fact, it wasn't his trailer after all. It must have been David Williams that switched the trailers, and in fact his trailer had gone somewhere, disappeared. So I set out to prove that the trailer did belong to him.
But investigators found serial numbers on the recently replaced tyres, which they traced to a supplier. They confirmed it was Jones who'd paid for the tyres, in cash. The game was surely up for Jones, but he wasn't ready to give in yet.
He'd pleaded not guilty for some time, and it was quite surprising that he had, bearing in mind the evidence that was gradually building up.
Jones pleaded guilty on the day of the trial and was sentenced to 13 years in prison for attempting to import drugs worth over £1 million.
He was a very greedy man, and he became complacent, and he was caught.
Meanwhile, back in Cornwall, no heroin has been found, but a search for cigarettes is underway. The Turkish crew are only allowed 200 cigarettes each whilst in UK waters. All other tobacco must be kept in a sealed store called the Bomb.
Right then, boys, as far as the crew themselves go, nobody has declared more than 200 cigarettes. And only 4 people have any spirits at all.
But what the crew declare isn't always the whole truth. And so the officers must search the entire ship for illegal goods, which might be destined for the local black market. Not surprisingly, the cabin searches reveal a few stray cigarettes.
It's okay so far. I mean, some of the crew felt a little bit extra, but there's no point in upsetting people just for tiny quantities of cigarettes.
But Woody also finds a stash in the ship's office and in the wheelhouse. The ship may not be as clean as first thought.
Was the cigarettes that were there earlier on? These? Okay. We've checked in here already. We've checked the chief officer's cabin, and the cigarettes that were up there have moved down here now, and they're moving things around to try and confuse us. Right, on this occasion, can you tell the chief I'll just take the cigarettes from him? Otherwise, we have these going ashore for business, yeah? And we want no business in Foy. So we wouldn't usually take a small amount like that, but because he's been obstructed in trying to move the cigarettes around, That's the reason I'm taking them from him.
Well, we're just a bit concerned that there seems to be a lot of stray cigarettes around the vessel.
Yes.
We found, like you said, 300 in the chat table, 300 in the office.
Yes.
Are there any more cigarettes before we search the vessel any further now?
I think no, just a moment, please. No.
No, that's definitely no more cigarettes, no?
No.
If there are any more cigarettes now, this is an opportunity for you to ask the crew to bring the cigarettes to us now before we find them. If we find cigarettes now when we search, we will have to work for them, and we will be cross, and we will probably find the vessel. Okay. So this is a chance for you to come to us now with any cigarettes, yeah?
No, we don't have more cigarettes.
No more cigarettes. Okay, good. Thank you, Captain.
Okay.
But Woody then finds another 2,000 cigarettes in the captain's cabin, which will have to be seized.
Yes. In one drawer, or four. He stood in front of the next drawer. I searched everywhere, waited for him to move, and opened the drawer he stood in front of. Opened the drawer, found the remainder.
The embarrassed captain asks Senior Officer Colin for clemency.
Could I take back a little bit, because not enough our cigarettes for the Turkey from here. For that reason, could I take a little bit more cigarettes?
You go back to Turkey?
11 days. Yes.
11 days trip?
From here. Plus 2 days here.
Yeah.
13 days.
Captain, I'm sorry, but the answer's... If you said...
opinion.
I know it might be, but if you put in the list, you'd said the cigarettes that you had, we could have had them in the bond locker, but because you
yeah, of course.
did that, but you didn't tell us you had the cigarettes. Okay, and it's in this country, I know some places you go, there's representation, customs come, they take cigarettes, all that happens. Here, it doesn't happen.
The cigarettes will all be destroyed, and the vessel will receive a hefty fine if caught breaking the rules again.